So I am a medium, and I did a reading for a lady, I guess about 3.5, 4 years ago. And she came to see me because she had lost some people. And while I was doing the reading, I heard this name. So I said, does this name sound familiar? She's like, I don't know who that is. And I'm like, okay, the lady that you're here connecting with says that you know this person and that I need to meet this person. And she's like, I don't know anybody with that name. And I'm like, okay, this lady is insisting that you know this person's name. So she's like, I don't know. So the reading wrapped up, and I'm like, okay, well, I did my best. I kind of thank Spirit for coming through. And it's like delivering the mail. It's like it's not always a two-way communication. They're trying to deliver the message. So about a day or two later, she sends me a message. She's like, oh, I know who that is. She said, it's my nephew, but he doesn't go by that name. That's his birth name. And it was his mother that was in spirit. She goes, oh, I think you guys would hit it off. I go, no, it's not supposed to be like a romantic connection. But this lady is saying, I need to talk to him. So she sent her nephew a message and said I had a reading. And of course, he's thinking, okay, charlatan, she's taking my aunt's money, whatever. So he's like, okay, my aunt asked me to reach out to you, but I'm never in town, maybe one day. And I'm like, okay, well, your mom wanted to pass on this message. So I gave him the message. He goes, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. So he came to see me. So we started talking about his mom. And then one thing led to another, and he started talking about aliens. And I was like, okay, well, what do you know? And he's like, well, what do you mean? So he started telling me some of his experiences. And I'm like, well, let me tell you some of the things that have been happening to me all of my life. And he was like, wow, I really think you need to tell people your stories. And I'm like, yeah, no. I'm like, nobody in my family knows that I'm a medium. I don't think anybody's going to want to know that I have experiences. So we talked a lot about that. So he said there was an alien conference or expo in Brantford in a couple of months. And he's like, oh, you should really go. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So we hit it off talking about this stuff. And he was here for about 5 hours, and we were talking about all of our experiences. So when it came time for the conference, he said, I really think you should go. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, he sent me a message in the morning. He's like, I really think you need to go. And I'm like, I don't like to go anywhere on a good day alone. So I just got in the car and I drove to Brantford, and I walked in and I didn't know what to expect. And I met someone named Dan, and I thought he was like the admin guy, and he was actually just there selling t-shirts. And he's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just supposed to be here. So he started telling me about some of the things, like very much into conspiracy theory. And he was telling me something. So then I started showing him pictures, and I started explaining things like, I really think you need to meet some of these people. So he had introduced me to a bunch of people at the conference. And that's how I kind of got my story out there. So I stayed there for the day. And then I met someone named Sid. He works for, I think he's with Gaia now, but he's with Earth Mystery News. And he interviewed me, and I gave him all of the stuff that I had experienced. And then the next year they asked me to speak at the conference. And that's when I kind of met you guys. I didn't meet you guys. I saw you guys there, but that's, I guess, why you're here today. So it was just an interesting, I'm doing a reading, and all of a sudden I'm at an alien conference. And then all of a sudden the next year I'm speaking at a conference. So that's how that came to be. So my experiences started, I guess, when I was little, and I had no idea what was going on. And it was basically waking up in the middle of the night with something in my room and not knowing what it was. And I didn't understand a lot of it. And I guess what had happened as an adult, and it happened mostly, I guess, in the last, probably since I moved to that's when it happened the most, where it was almost like a weekly thing or a monthly thing, where I would wake up and there's something in my room, and then all of a sudden it's almost like fear. It's like you're frozen, and people are like, oh, well, why didn't you look around and see what's on the walls, and why don't you make notes, or do you see any writing? It's like when you're terrified, that's the last thing you want to do is, I think I'm going to make some notes. You're just like praying that you're not going to be killed or die, or what's going on. This is so unusual. So what was happening to me was I would wake up, I would see something in my room, and then I would feel this pull, and then I would be on like a metal table, and I would have there like usually three, but 2 or 3 beings in the room looking at me. They weren't speaking. and I didn't know what was going on. So there would be instances where I would be on the table and something was being inserted into me, and you can feel it all. You can feel the pain. So you're trying, it's like you're paralyzed. You want to scream because you can feel absolutely everything that's going on in your body, but you can't move. So then it's like you almost like pass out from the pain, but then you come to and you're still in this. So that's what happened with me. So all of a sudden you kind of feel this push, like, and then you're back in your bed and you're like, what just happened? And a couple weeks later, waking up, something in the room, and then feeling that pull, and then being on a table, and then something kind of going down your throat, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't breathe. I'm panicking. And it's just like, you're helpless. You can't move, but you're just shaking from fear, and I'm going to die. This is it. I'm going to die. But I hear in my head, you signed up for this. This is something that you're here to do. And that means nothing to me. All I know is I just want to be home. So it's, you think you're about to take your last breath, and then you can breathe, and then you're back. I'm back in my room. And another time, waking up, and same thing, something's in my room. I'm on this table. There's lots of light. They don't appear to be very tall, but then people are like, well, how high is the table? I'm like, I have no idea how high the table is. What are you telling? Like, that's not anything I'm looking for. So being on the table and seeing them putting their hands inside of my stomach, like I can see their hands, and then I don't see anything else. And feeling that burning sensation. So that is the type of thing that has been happening over the years. That's been going on for years. So I was explaining when I was at the conference 2 years ago that the last time I remember getting up in the morning, and my sheets, I always have like white sheets, and getting into bed, and I've got my pajamas on, and I see this stuff on my sheets, and it looks like it's green. It's like a smoothie, like if you had a kale smoothie or something. It's that kind of a mossy kind of green, but it looks like if you were to take a paintbrush and flick it, like it's just kind of flecks in the bed. And I'm like what's going on? So of course I'm checking my pajamas, and I don't see anything. And then it's like, okay, don't have my period this month, don't have my period this month, don't have my period this month. And then like after 3 months, waking up, something is in my room, waking up on this table, and feeling something again going internally. So you can feel it going, I say internally because I didn't want to say vagina and I didn't want to say anus, but it's like you can feel something going inside of you. And then it's like this, it just feels like something being taken. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's the type of thing I've been experiencing. So waking up a lot of the times with bruises or marks on my body. And again, I don't tell anybody this. I don't share this with anybody. I don't want people to know that this is going on in my life. And there isn't anyone that I really share this stuff with, other than, I did meet some really nice people at the conference who seem like nice people that I was able to share this with and kind of open up with. So why am I saying this today? I have no idea. But these are the type of things that have been happening. And like I would wake up and in the morning, like have this like a triangle on my chest, like, and it would last for weeks. And I'm like, okay, is it eczema? Is it an allergic reaction? But it would last for weeks, and I would put cream on it or and it just didn't go away. And then wake up one day and it's completely gone. And those are kind of the things that have been happening. I will be driving, and it will be broad daylight, and I'll look up and something's hovering over my car, and I'll be looking around going, okay, I'm in traffic. There's a lane here. There's a lane here. We're all stopped at the light. Why am I the only one seeing this? There are flashing lights on this thing, very, very colorful. How am I the only one who is seeing this? And I remember calling my ex, who isn't into this at all, but I was so terrified. I just called him up. I'm like, have you heard anything about UFO things or whatever? And he had said at the time, actually, I heard something was happening in Montreal. And this was probably about 7 years ago when this started happening. So now a lot of the times when I wake up, they're not experimenting or doing things to my body that I can remember, but I will wake up and I'm on a ship, but it's like a small ship, and it looks like it's, maybe enough for 3 people. I'm usually in the back, and there's usually 1 or 2 in the front, and I feel like I'm going to a bigger ship. And what I can see in the sky is these ships look like they're all kind of interconnected, and they're like a slate color, and they're the size of cities. They're huge. And I'm like, how come people can't see? I don't understand why people can't see this. I can't be the only one seeing this in broad daylight. So those are the kind of things I'm seeing, and I'm looking around thinking, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? I don't investigate it. I don't read about it. I just kind of hope it goes away. It doesn't go away. And so that's kind of the type of things that I experience on a regular basis. And about 3 weeks ago, I was saying earlier, I went to bed, and before I go to bed, I do yoga all the time. So it's like before I go to bed, put cream on my feet, put my socks on, get up in the morning, and it's like, okay, those marks were not on my feet when I went to bed. I know what my feet look like. They were not there. And I can show you pictures of those. I have those on my phone. And again, it's like, what's going on? But there's always that feeling of waking up and something is in the room. And there are different types of beings that I see. Again, I don't investigate. I don't look around. I don't go on the internet going, oh, what does this look like? And I think I'm just kind of like, okay, maybe today it'll go away. Maybe today's the day it's going to stop. But it started, like, again, I remember as a child having weird experiences but not knowing what it was. And then when I moved here, it would be like once every 6 months, and then once a month, and then 2 or 3 times a day, and then almost daily, and then it would stop for 6-7 months, and then it would start up again. And it recently started up probably maybe 3 months ago, and it's 2 or 3 times a week.